Hi. There's no one here yet, but I know what it's like when people go on live and they're just awkwardly staring at the screen. And I don't want to do that, so I'm just gonna talk, even though there's no one here yet. Hello. Welcome. I'm going to invite Marcus of Draw Dot into the chat right now. I've never gone live on here before, so a little bit nervous, but
There I am.
oh, there he is.
There I am.
Hello.
So you should look for other people right now. And
Yes,
welcome
let me
to our
find them.
room.
Welcome to the room. Oh,
Yes.
she can't join. She has to upgrade her app.
What?
Oh no.
We can wait. We can wait. If you can. But can she upgrade the app?
I don't know. It says she has to upgrade her app. I don't know. Seeing,
Let's.
can you request to join our video right now?
Yes.
Welcome, guys. We're going to be talking with the designers of Private Policy NYC or New York. And we're super excited, except now I don't
We
know if I
have a
can get
little
her in.
technical
There might
difficulties.
be a technical difficulty already.
It's okay. We can see if this will work. If not, we will find another solution.
I cannot get her on. Oh wait, no, we're good. We're good. I think I got her.
Yes.
I think I got her.
You got it.
Seeing I sent you an invite.
Let's see if she can get in.
Let's hope.
Yeah, in the meantime, I'll show you one of the cool things that they did. Is this hat.
Oh,
This is
that's
actually
from
one
their
of
latest
the
collection,
fall.
right?
Yeah, this is one of the fall and winter collection like
Love it.
accessory, and they do it as a filter. So
So
yes.
cool. Okay, I sent her an invite, so try again.
It's okay. We have time.
We have time. So, for those of you who are here, welcome. My name is Madeline Chung, and I'm the founder of Representation Project. First time going on live, so
Super
pretty
excited.
nervous, but I'm so happy that you guys are here. And I'm joined by my good friend Marcus, who is the founder of DrawDot. Can you tell everyone what DrawDot is?
DrawDot is a fashion illustration community where we talk about like we show different artworks. I show different artworks. I do different projects. And the latest one, it's about Asian racism. So that's why I think Represent Asian Project is a perfect fit to do this like live with me.
Okay, we have a problem. It
What
said she was
problem?
unable to join. We can't get seeing in.
Is it because
Oh
of the
no.
apps not
It said,
updated?
I think so. So we're trying to get,
All right. Is
for
Horan
those of you
here?
guys who don't know, we can apparently now do,
We got Horan, but
we
we
got
don't get
Oh,
seeing.
hi.
Hey, Lauren. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're
Thank you so
good.
much for joining.
We need to figure out how
Of
to get
course.
seeing in.
Yeah, I don't think she's like on the call yet.
She is, unless she has, can she update Instagram in China?
Let me text her.
Yes.
Technical difficulties, guys. Sorry, bear with us.
Like, pair of us, we will be back. We will be working really, like, we will. If you want me to do dancing,
Send
I
a
will do
request.
dancing. This is so new to all of us, so it's okay. I think when I was doing a live earlier today, it took me 10 minutes to figure out how to get 4 people into one room.
Oh no.
So yes.
Okay, Seeing said she sent a request, but I can't get her in. No.
And I think Horan basically just frozen. He left, and then he joined.
Okay.
Let's try it again. So sorry.
All right, here we go. Here we go, guys.
Let's make it work.
All right, I'm inviting Howard. Okay, I requested both of them.
Okay, let's see
Hopefully
who
they can
can
come
come
back
in.
on the video. And yeah, for those of you joining again, my name is Matt.
Yes!
Hi!
Yes!
We got
Yeah,
in.
We got
also
one.
it went out there to get me, and now I'm in here. And yeah, I said the app, I updated it, but I need like a couple of times me to like go out of the app and come back to work.
That's okay. So
We're
is
so
Horan
happy
coming
you're
in?
here.
Is Horan
Yes.
coming back in?
So let me.
I invited him, so hopefully he can get back in.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Technical difficulties.
So, again, for those of you who are just joining, I'm Madeline. I'm the founder of Representation Project, and I'm joined by Marcus of DrawDot and C&Q of Private Policy New York. And Howren was here. We're hoping he'll come back. Oh, now he's unable to join, so there's that. Cool. So, Marcus, why don't you just get us started, and I will focus on getting Howren back in.
Yes. So, seeing I think a lot of people actually don't know about Private Policy, the brand. Do you want to maybe do a little description, introduction of the brand? Hey, Horan, you're in.
We're in.
Yes.
Hi, Tara.
All four of us.
Yeah, it looks so great. We have a great going on.
So cool.
Yeah, about Private Policy, we finally the brand. In 2016, me and Haran, we graduated from Parsons. We just like, let's do a brand. But then we were very, we were thinking, what does the world need another fashion brand for? We were like, what do we do? So we thought about our own passions of talking about political or social issues with our friends, just nonstop at dinner tables, walking the street down New York. And we thought maybe we can make our inspirations, which we have to have for each collection anyways, about a different social or political topic. So with that in mind, we started the brand, and now it's almost 5 years later, and then we have been talking about so many different topics, and the most recent one is actually quite close to our heart and very close to the conversation today.
Yes, I know you actually have two, basically you have two collections that are really about the Asian culture. One of them is the Spring and Summer 2019 about breaking the looking glass. So you basically try to break the whole stereotype, like the Asian stereotype, and make them look really different. And then afterwards, you have obviously the new, the latest Fall and Winter 2021 collection. We remember you, so that is a really, really cool collection as well. So is there any link in between these two collections?
Howard, do you want to?
Sorry, my okay.
Oh, sorry.
You put him on the spot.
Do you want us to repeat the question?
Yes. So is there a connection? I know the Spring and Summer 2019 and the Fall and Winter 2021 about the Asian cultures. But are there any connections between the two collections, or two separate things?
Yeah, I think there's always a connection between our collections. And for these collections, it is especially focused on Asian American culture, because we really want to talk about our own community and what happened inside of the community, and how other people sees, looking through the glass, sees the community. I think these are the two. These are the connections between the two collections, basically.
Yep. So I think one of the biggest one right now is the Fall and Winter 2021 collection. My community rave about your collection. So for people who actually don't know about it, will you be able to give a little description, information about the collection? And I will, and in the meantime, I will show you this particular, this filter is amazing. It's one of the Fall and Winter 2021 accessories. So I think you can even talk about the hats, because I know the hats has actually some really significant meaning to the collection.
Yes. So thank you so much for showing off our filter. We love it. It's actually a quite amazing story behind the hats. The filter itself, by the way, is designed by Anna, who is Italian, lives in Milan. And we connected with her on Instagram, and she was so happy to do the filter. So the hat itself, if you research into the topic of our fall 2021 collection, is about the 1800s Chinese railroad workers who built the American cross-continental railroad, which really contributed just phenomenally for building the modern America. And then within those research and imageries, if you just Google right now, you'll quickly see all these hats, worn by the railroad workers back then. And the hats were brought from their hometown, which is the Pearl River Delta of China. And then that's the hat they wore in their hometown for really function, right? To block the sun and for rain for their hometown. And then when they went to the west of America, which is desert weather, and then it's really cool sun, and then they use that as for functionality again. And then we just thought, wow, this is amazing, because if you kind of look more into the history of this part of the Asian immigrants, or at that time not immigrants yet, is that even though the company itself who built the railroad knows so much how much they relied on the Chinese workers to build the railroad. So the imageries and through press, like on newspaper, actually in public, you rarely or basically do not see any record of them. So these imageries, even if you see them, is really show the grand landscape of how mankind can build a railroad in such kind of condition, desert, on basically 90-degree angle, cliffs, through snowstorms, and you really cannot see anyone's face. So especially for the Chinese workers. And we thought it's quite interesting that this hat, even though you cannot see their faces, these hats become the symbols of their identity and kind of their mark of saying, even if you don't know my name, my hat is here, and you cannot erase that from such a Chinese hat, Asian hat, in this whole historical events of America. So we thought it's a very interesting point. And we're also very aware of the hats have a very complex history in the West, because of how, again, it's the prejudice against the early immigrants from Asia of saying, oh, you guys only do the dirtiest work, you're not educated, you're low class, as such. And because of Asian immigrants, we wore the hat, so that's the hats affiliated with those kind of sentiments. And we thought, now today is 2021, 21st century, centuries later, why don't we finally show people how proud we are of the hat and people who wore them, the amazing things they have done. We don't see low class or someone unworthy. Instead, we saw something like so amazing and so proud of. And then we kind of, since we're talking about the Wild West of America, thought about comparison of cowboy hats. People around the world wear cowboy hats, feel like cool because how this culture is promoted as, cowboys are cool. You wear cowboy hats, you're cool. So why not the rural worker from the Chinese rural workers hat? Those are cool as well. And so we thought about using the prior policy chain, using colors, do an Instagram filter to have people take selfies even with their friends and just enjoy like that.
I love it. So it's like you're really reclaiming that hat to, make it ours and make us be proud of it for something that maybe caused shame in the past.
Exactly.
Amazing.
It's so cool to even look at the presentation and the lookbook photos. Everyone in my group was basically saying that, wow, how come we never discovered this brand until now? And then I was amazed. And then everyone just like, oh my God, we need to draw this. We need to do this. We need to draw this. But one question I want to ask is, did you come up with the collection first, or did you actually start with this hat to create the collection? That's always something I want to know.
I think the hat's really Haoran's push. He was like, let's put the hat in the collection, right, Haoran? And then I think, I
think we need something that's special for the collection, and we researched a lot, and we saw this hat in the imagery of 19th century railroad workers. So
that all started the whole collection.
We were researching all the clothing, but then if you see all those imageries, it's really hard to miss the hat. And we were like, let's do the hat. let's do something with it. Yeah, and then we're able to connect with our accessory team who works in China and south of China, and actually the representative of the our accessory factory, she said, "Oh wow, the hat is actually that's what fishermen wear in my hometown, and her hometown actually the Pearl River Delta area, and that's how we find the hat, and then they helped us to customize the hat. So it's quite amazing. Everything kind of comes around.
That
And
is
I think
so cool.
this is such a good example too of like not appropriating culture because it is our culture, right? And we're really like
Yes.
paying homage to it, and it was made, you know, by someone who had the hats in their hometowns, and it's so different than other brands, for example, taking these cultural pieces and appropriating it and trying to make it, you know, their own. So it's so lovely that it's coming from both of you in this brand.
Yes, and then just saying that I know I have seen some comments already in case you guys need to use this, like want to track this filter, make sure you go to
Need to find
Private
it too.
Policy's Instagram account and then look for the filter and then you can download it. Apparently you can change color too, but for some reasons when we are in this room, you can't change color. So I have
Okay,
the
that
green
color
hat.
suits you.
No. So let's just keep going. I'm just like trying to promote this right now.
So I'm so curious as to how do you choose which social or political issue you want to go with for a collection? Because I'm sure there's so many issues out there and there's so many things to care about. How do you kind of narrow it down to the one thing for that one collection?
I think me and Haran are always very we're constantly observing what's going on and try to talk with as many people and have deep conversations with different, you know, creative individuals in our community and or just on the news and just researching. And then yeah, we there was points where we thought, oh, what once you find a topic we just really love, and that haven't
Mm-hmm.
happened yet. There's so many things out there. And what helped us to narrow it down, I think what we feel is really intuitive in a way, I guess. We just feel what is really close. We can feel passion. Kind of there's certain things, you know, I bet you everyone experienced that certain news articles when you read it, you just feel like, oh, this is something you must just spend hours just digging deeper and deeper and finding different things about this one event. And that's kind of how we find that specific topic that's very intriguing for us, me and Haran. And then interestingly, that kind of made us every season we had seems to be so current because of how, you know, we live in this moment. Me and Haran live in this moment. Our team lives in this moment. If we're intrigued by something, it's probably because it's so much of the moment and we have so much to talk about for that
Mhm.
moment.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of things in the moment, I'm going to kind of
Yes.
shift a little bit because right now, as we all know, there's a huge uprise in anti-Asian racist attacks, very violent attacks, especially in the States. There's also lots of reported hate crimes in Canada as well, where Marcus and I are based. So first of all, I just kind of wanted to gauge, you know, how are you feeling around all of this? You're both from, I believe, both from China, and you moved to NYC, and you're kind of back and forth. Is that correct? Between NYC and China? Yeah. So what's it been
Yes.
like to, you know, hear about all of these awful things that are happening right now, especially in New York?
Um, I think it actually really started last year when we really just feeling it personally and through
Mm-hmm.
very close friends started to talk about it. Things like you don't feel comfortable as an Asian person wearing a mask on the subway when you know that's what you're supposed to do, but no one's wearing it, and then they think whoever wear a mask means you are the one who carries the virus. Sick people wear a mask. But as part of Asian culture, especially, you know, sometimes especially I think very notably in Japan or in Hong Kong, in mainland China as well, in Korea, when you just have a regular cold, you wear a mask. Or in China, me knowing since I was a kid, people wear masks during winter for warmth, you know, to cover your face. So it's such like it's a normal thing. We just felt wow, because of the virus, we can feel the stares on subways or public places wear masks. So conflicting, and then gradually you can I think around March, I remember when I kind of that's like right before you go into quarantine. I remember it clearly when I went to Chinatown in New York, where usually it's very crowded, a lot of people, very vibrant, and that's March before quarantine, before confirmed case in New York yet. And Chinatown, when it was really different, and you can feel the energy before even anyone pointed out to you. You just feel it. You just feel how different it is, and other parts of the city is still ongoing, and people still going to work to the office. And then gradually towards the summer of 2020, you really start to hear close friends or myself saw in my neighborhood graffiti on the wall says China did this, and that kind of is really for me living in New York for almost 10 years now, the first time feeling like, oh, this may not be as welcoming as I thought. So that's quite interesting. How about you, Haran?
Yeah, I think when the virus, COVID started, I really felt it in New York City, especially I heard my neighbor seeing some cases about like his mom, because his mom cannot speak English. He's just getting yelled on the street. I really cannot believe this happened in New York City with such diverse culture, and this really shocked me. And I think this also really leads to how we started to do this latest collection as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wonder too, what are your thoughts on just, Asian kids, a lot of the time we grow up and we're taught to be quiet and to not really share our feelings or express how we're feeling. And right now, what's really wonderful in light of all these horrible things is that we're seeing a lot of people in the Asian community really speak up and share their voice and share what they're experiencing in these moments. So what's that like for you? Because I mean, obviously both you and Seeing use your brand and your clothing line as a way to send out a message. So what's it like to see all of these other people now, using their voices for this important issue?
I think it's great to speak out, because I think when I just came to the States around like 10 years ago, I really hearing Asian communities speaking out about their voices, and people are starting to speaking out since I think a few years ago, and I hear a lot more about like what's happening in Asian community and what people really want. I think it's really important to express the need and the difficulties within the community to let other people know, instead of just holding back with yourself. And I think it's a great change of our own community.
Yeah, Seeing, we were just talking about how growing up Asian, we tend to be, quiet and not talk about our feelings or the things that are bothering us. And we don't tend to be vulnerable about those things. So I was just asking Haran, what's it like to kind of see people speaking up now and expressing their feelings around these horrible attacks that are happening? So I wonder what it's like for you.
It's really refreshing. It's almost a healing moment for everyone, I think, within Asian. Well, there are moments that I haven't even thought of as racist when I experienced it. And now I was just talking about it. Actually, I realized, whoa, that was bad. I was talking with my husband. I was like, oh, in high school, someone painted KKK on my locker. And I was in North Carolina. And then I was a culture exchange student. So that everything, even the idea of racism the concept was quite new for me. I was learning about the history of America at the moment. And interesting enough, I just learned about what does that stand for in U.S. history class in high school. But then still, I was like, oh, I was just thinking maybe clean it up and then it will be gone. But now I'm thinking about it. Wow, it could be actually dangerous. I even didn't think about going to school authorities. They didn't do anything because they didn't even know. And then all kinds of things like this just reminded me of how it really exists, and then often we may not feel it. It's just because we really ignored it or avoided it and thought, oh, it couldn't do anything to me. What did I do wrong? And all of that thoughts. And it's just quite amazing today. Recently I saw people are very much more outspoken and really holds companies, corporations accountable for their actions. If they say they want to be inclusive, then what about the Asian communities? And there's a lot of, I think it's quite empowering to see the whole community come together and talk about these issues. And also, I think it's a very nice moment that we as Asian communities also work closely with other minority communities in America. At the moment, I see it happening around the world as well, even Europe, and I believe in Canada as well, and different countries. And you can see this uniting force, which I think, I mean, definitely happened in the past before, but today it become more discussed, like the complexity of how we deal with each situation is much more discussed instead of only finding who to blame quickly, instead of thinking about, oh, the whole grand scheme and how that affect us long term and what's the historical situation happened before.
Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts? You mentioned, keeping brands accountable. What are your thoughts right now? There's a lot of brands who are speaking out and sending out, those official statements that we're seeing all over Instagram, how they stand with the Asian community. What do you think about that? Because some people, they feel really, really great about it and they're happy they're being supported, but other people are kind of like, this is exactly like when people posted a black square after, George Floyd was killed. And did the brands really do anything months later? Are we seeing change? So I'd love to know what you think about that.
I think, as little as it can be, that could be the first step. That's great. They're making a statement, which they would not have before. For example, last year in March, there were people actually speaking up about it. For example, Carolyn from opening ceremony, they had a whole video of washing away the hate. It will wash hate, and people are outraged about how elderlies were treated in different parts of America and around the world as well. International students, how they were treated in Europe, people were outraged, but you didn't see any of statements from all these corporations. So today, even though we wish earlier, but still, it's the first step. I think the next step is very important. Also, it's about them holding themselves accountable and us speaking up when we see things that, oh, that actually is more than being insensitive. We speak up and tell them, and then we see how they react. And that's really, to have that first step, have a statement, is easier for us to say, oh, well, you made that statement. Are you gonna live up to, your action? Will it be live up to that statement? I think, definitely that's the first step, but it's definitely not everything at all. That doesn't putting up a statement does not solve the issue. If I wish it does.
Yeah. If only, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wonder, I know that I read in your bio saying that you grew up with, your parents were pretty artistic, so they really were supportive of you going into an artistic career. I'm wondering too, back to, what we were talking about of growing up, about being Asian and not talking about things openly. Have you always been kind of so outspoken about these important issues, or was it something that kind of you grew into?
I think my family definitely had that dinner table culture of talking about things. My grandparents, my parents would definitely even challenge me and say, oh, what's your opinion? You have to speak up in that way.
Wow.
Which is
That's amazing.
Person, you just kind of don't want to talk. But at the same time, I think something really brought me to a perspective when I came to America. There are moments I also thought, speaking out is great, expressing ourselves is great, but I also thought about, oh, maybe it not always the Western way is the best way. So what about the Eastern way of we do it our way, right? Like I think that also is very interesting to see how in the West, how people, there's a culture of meditation, culture about being Zen, all this culture of being more calm, all of this, which is very interesting. So I thought about what I can do personally to practice both, kind of, create like my own way of expressing. And I think the next thing I hope to see is that people from other culture, other side, or other way of expressing can also respect the Asian way of living and expressing ourselves. It's never if someone does not say something is wrong, doesn't mean you cannot realize that could be wrong. And then, you know, these kind of things also is important to realize as well. But at this very moment, definitely we are pushed to a corner. We're going to speak up, we're going to yell, we're going to be loud. And then which Asians are known to do too. It's actually a misconception. We're always quiet. You know, when we were researching about, you know, the rural workers in hundreds, imagine they were total foreigners. A lot of them probably did not even speak English. And then they had, you know, during the midst of building a railroad in the middle of the desert, it can be very dangerous for them to think about strike, but they did it. But they did it quiet. The book I was reading about the research, all they did was just organize, they're super organized, and they just all of a sudden they just stopped working, and they went back to their camp and started drinking tea and enjoying food for the day. You know, and that's
Yes.
And then in the book they also mention about, you know, funny like ways of how they got back to people who are being racist against them. And I just thought, you know, we do have attitude, we do, you know, we are very strong and confident, but maybe sometimes expressing a different way. And now we're just want to tell people we are. If you really don't see us, if you think we're invisible, well, we're not.
I love that you pointed that out. That's such a great thing that we need to, I think, remind ourselves of that, you know.
Yes. But I also have one question, because in the last like interview, like Instagram Live, I did talk about, do you think is it because of the Asian pride that make us not want to speak up?
It could be. I think it could be different for different situations. I think there's definitely, for me, I can speak personally, I think sometimes when we talk about problems or we talk about issues, we feel like, oh, it's because I'm not doing enough yet, and that's why this problem occurred. I complain, that means all people be like, oh, it's only because you're not perfect, that's why you have problems. If you're perfect, you won't have problems. And I think that could be really plays into it. And also this idea of image, you know, to show that you're always happy or everything's fine, it always seems a better image than you saying, oh, I'm actually struggling, or this is, you know, I don't feel comfortable about this. It could be that. And I think it's could be a double-edged sword. There are moments, you know, really help us to strive to always, you know, be very criticizing ourselves, but then we strive. There's a lot of amazing things happen through that way. But on the other hand, it could be others may feel like, oh, we don't even know it, you feel that way. Or they feel, oh, if they don't say it, I can keep on pushing because they never said it and they seem fine. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also believe that the media has portrayed us as sort of like the hardworking class. We only look for money. We only look for power. So we don't actually react to anything. If people bully us, we're just going to walk away because we don't talk. Yeah. Yes. So I'm seeing those comments right now. Yes, it's about the face. I feel like a lot of times we are wearing like a mask to actually like to tell people that we are strong. And at the same time, when I was talking in the last session, I remember the illustrators telling me that at some point they don't feel like they belong to the States because sometimes they don't feel like they're welcome in the States. So this is something that we don't know what to do. Like, yeah. Do you feel that way? Like when you were in New York, do you actually feel like, yeah, I don't know if I actually belong to New York or belong to the States?
I think in New York, like I said, in the almost 10 years of me living here, going to school and working, this last year and this year is really the only time I actually felt like a foreigner, because New York, you know, prior itself and ourselves, I mean, I consider myself half a New Yorker now, and you know, being very a melting pot, very welcoming, and then people really have a way of getting along with different cultures. And since it's such a condensed city, you kind of have to in a way. And then just looking at Chinatown in Manhattan is a mix of Little Italy, Chinatown, and you have the cool kids now opening up cool little shops in Chinatown area, but you also have, you know, like modern art museums coming. And then you have even like the Jewish community also in parts of, around the lower areas. It's very mixed, and in different, in other China, you can see this mix. But I would say definitely the pandemic really woke us up of saying there are things still underlying. This issue still exists, just because on the surface we were getting by okay, we were enjoying life.
Mm-hmm.
Those things happens occasionally, did not bother us, doesn't mean it's not there. And then when you really look at the statistics and how policies are working, it actually paints a different picture. For example, I remember the statistics saying how actually the low income populations in New York, most of them are actually Asian. And that's so shocking. At first, when I heard that, I was thinking that's impossible. How could that be? And I Googled it, researched it. I think I may not say exactly correct phrase, but if you just look into it, definitely gonna find the numbers, and it's actually true. And that's why we are now more outspoken about the myth of being model minority, because we are not actually this special minority as a whole group. Actually, it's just there are still a lot of population in the community are actually struggling financially, and actually struggling with education, struggling with police, and it's all happening. And then just because we were portrayed as a model minority, those issues are actually more hidden. And then when we talk about it, it's easy to feel this force of saying, oh, how could that be? You guys always, you're the bankers, you're the doctor, you are the best, you are the GPA 4.0 kids in school. How are you struggling? And it's really hard. Even a lot of times, if you don't research into it as Asian, you are shocked about the actual numbers. You're like, wow, this is actually, the real picture is so different.
Yes.
As you say, a lot of things coming to the surface right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's just so many things to digest right now. My brain's like, ugh.
I think conversation like this, happens now is really amazing. We're going into really into a very new time. We talk about inclusivity, diversity in such an active way. It really, and I think this time too, I feel a little bit different than before, because before we do talk about this, 5 years ago, we do talk about it. We do celebrate the Asian Pacific Heritage Month, or we do celebrate, like February just passed, the African American History Month, the museums being built. But I think this is really one of the era where people are actively asking for accountability. We're saying, we're pointing out things that we see, big or small, that's not done right. We're just gonna speak out. That's very unique, I think, to this moment right now.
Yeah, I think Asians should really speak out this time. I just find that sometimes Asians are too quiet, especially when I encounter some of the things like a few weeks ago. And when I, like through life experience, when I actually posted on Instagram, I actually get a lot of non-Asian people message me and ask, how can we support you? Like, how can we support the Asian community? But on the other hand, I probably have less than like 5 people, like five Asians actually messaging like, how can we help you? Or they will be just like, you know what, just ignore what's going on, because we shouldn't be talking about this. It's not our like business. So to me, I think we need to get a little bit more united, because when I see how like Black Lives Matter, when someone is in trouble, everyone goes and help that person. But then when it comes to the Asian community right now, when someone is in trouble, everyone's going to the other side, the other direction. It's like, let's not touch it for now. Let's just like wait for a bit and figure out what to do. And I think, Madeline, you want to ask more about like what kind of things we can do, right? As an Asian community.
I think too, we just have to be careful that, it's not the oppression Olympics, and we're not talking about who has it worse than the other. I think that's something that we need to be very careful of, because a lot of anti-Black rhetoric can come out of that, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we are united and in solidarity. And a really great metaphor I heard in the past was, the patriarchy and white supremacy has us like scrambling and fighting over like little scraps or a little piece of pie when really we should be asking and demanding for the whole pie. Before we get into, you know, what we can do, there's a question here that's really great. How do you personally engage older family members in conversations about this? I find it very difficult because my family isn't as open. Do you have any thoughts on that, Seeing?
You know, I'm a fashion designer. I don't have the answers to it, but very good question. You know, me personally can struggle with this. You know, with I think because different generations definitely have a different life experience. You know, especially now where I think really so embedded in social media is a very different mindset. Also about speaking out, it's a different feeling. Could be than how they were experiencing speaking out. It could be you only choice is you actually go out and protest on the street. And I think as sometimes Asian family feel, oh, that's so dangerous. Oh, we shouldn't speak out. You are bringing too much attention, or oh, will that affect your job, right? I think that's sometimes elders will be worried about.
Yes.
But I also find it very interesting, though. Do not be fooled by them being so cautious. There are things it will boil down to. There are things they are very passionate about, and maybe I find it easier if I kind of find out what's that thing that they actually realize, or catch that moment when they actually complain about something. They didn't realize and they complain about something. You're like, oh, that's actually what I'm talking about. If we speak out more about certain things and this situation maybe will be better for you. And then, you know, like a lot of these kind of things can be more relatable for them. And but I think it is difficult. Any conversation with parents sometimes can be difficult. But again, I just find out like actually they are, because you know they were like us, like you know we will grow old and they were young ones. So there were things where they're still things they're actually very passionate about, and then I believe that you will be able to find it. And yeah, maybe just a different perspective. But I think sometimes those perspectives may not be totally irrelevant. It just have from their point of view, and then we listen. Maybe we can also catch different things will help us to understand what's going on now as well.
Yes,
That's such great advice.
That's the great advice. That's what I do all the time. Like when my family talk, I'm like, let's listen and see what you have to offer, and then you have to process this in your brain because they have their way of thinking. You have to respect them. Like, don't start the argument because it can turn really ugly. I can tell you.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we close off on this chat, Seeing?
Oh, I think it's really amazing, and I think going to what else we can do. You know, this conversation is Instagram Live between three of us, but you know, I encourage everyone who's listening right now. You can have the same conversation with your close friends first, and I often starting. I think last year I had some deep conversation with my close friends. I even shocked me of their experience as different from different perspective as Asian communities in America or different parts of the world. And I think we can support each other in that way. Because again, like we mentioned, even these issues we don't talk a lot within our community either. So I think this is a moment maybe we can start a conversation with the people you're most comfortable with first, and then you will see how it grow. I really see how it grow, and people realizing different things, and then solutions will come. We realize, solutions do come after a deep conversation. We start to think differently. And because you start to notice, oh, this is not just my personal feelings, others feel a similar way or different, slightly different. How can, for example, now I really think about how can I support my, like the Asian male, Asian queer community, Asian different part or different like Asians that's not East Asians that I'm more close identified as. All of these things I become more, I think, aware of and want to discover or learn about. And I think that's amazing. Really just started with a simple conversation with a friend, and then by asking, how are you doing at this moment? What are your thoughts? And you'll be surprised people actually are ready to talk about it. Yeah.
That's
Seeing
good
you are
advice.
such an important voice for this community. We are
Yes.
so thankful that you came to chat with us and share your wisdom with us.
It's too amazing. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Personal experience, and thank you so much for organizing this live, and thank you so much for providing the Draw Adult platform for Illustrator to really express for this specific issue is really important, and I really see amazing feedback, and I think what everyone's doing right now is just so encouraging and so positive. I really have this positive energy I can feel. Thank
yes,
you.
absolutely. Like today, when we launched this project, we didn't expect to be that crazy. Like we had a little private chat room for us, the three illustrators and I, and we were basically texting nonstop. It's like, oh my God, this happened, this happened, this happened. We were having so many ugly crying moments. It was just so overwhelming, but we are so touched by all the response, and especially we are so fortunate to have the designers and all the influencers who actually support this project and support us. So I really feel that there is change is coming, and then we just have to see what next step are we going to do.
Yes.
Yes. So
Thank you to all
Madeline,
of you who tuned in. So happy to see you here on Representation Project's first live. And again, so honored that seeing you were part of this. Marcus too from Draw Dot. And that's it for now.
all right, so thanks for having us. We'll talk later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.